Okay, so I get asked a lot from sellers, what is the process? Like, what are the steps it takes to sell a house when I sell a house? So I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Um, so it really depends how you're selling it, right? We discussed this. There's three ways to sell a house. The first is I don't recommend, which is for sale by owner. I've been through the reasons why I think it's a terrible idea. Your house is not going to get seen by like 2/3 to 3/4 of the people that are coming to see your house because buyers agents are not bringing them there, and majority of the people looking for houses in New York use a buyer's agent. So I think it's a terrible idea. Also, you'll never know if you got the most money you can for it. We're in a crazy market today. I just listed a property for a number I got $100,000 above asking. If this was a for sale by owner or a feasible deal, you never know if you would have got that much for it. You probably wouldn't. The other two ways to sell your house are the way that 90% of the properties go in New York, and that is being listed with an agent on the multiple listing service. And the other way is to sell to an investor, right? I am one of the few people that does both. I am both someone who buys properties that need to be fixed up, fix them up, and sell them, and I'm also somebody who lists properties as a real estate broker. Sorry. So let's first go with when you list a property. What is the process, right? What happens, right? So when you decide to list, either you are contacted by someone like me or you contact someone like me and say, hey, I'm thinking about listing. You may contact multiple people and you're going to ask an agent a few things, right? First thing you should ask an agent is how much commission are you going to take, right? That is going to be your biggest closing cost, and you want to know how much it is, right? So if someone is above 4%, I would think very hard in New York, at least certainly downstate New York, whether you want to use them, right? 4 is pretty much standard. If someone charges you more, that's a lot. I actually charge less, but I'm not selling myself right now. I just want to explain to you the processes. You also want to ask them how long do you want the listing to last. If a person comes and tells you a year, that should really make you wonder what's going on, because we're in a market where things go into contract within 2 weeks. And if someone's telling you they want to list it for a year, you should think about what the story is. Now, understand what I'm about to say is the truth. Everything is negotiable. The amount of the commission is negotiable. How long you list it for is negotiable. And the idea, if anybody says something to you along the lines of, well, my broker won't let me, then you should find another agent. Another reason why you should not use someone you're related to or that you're friends with, because they're going to pull some of that crap and you're not going to have the guts to say you're out of here. Now, after you choose a realtor, you are going to then sign the listing agreement with them and a few docs. I think 4 documents are what I usually have people sign. And then that realtor or professional photographer should come over and take pictures of the property. And the listing should then go up on multiple listing service. They should probably schedule an open house, preferably for a weekend and preferably within 5 days of when the listing goes up. Now, during the open house, you as a seller should probably get the hell out of the house. I know people say, oh, I'm afraid, I don't know. Certainly if you have any pets, get them out of the house, but you should get out too. It's much better if you are not there. Now, let me explain why. There's a few reasons. Number one, you do not want to answer stupid questions from stupid buyers. How long has it been since you painted this room? Number two, you don't want to deal with the stupidity of buyers knocking your stuff. This is the color that they painted this room, and I'm telling you, they can be brutal. You do not want to deal with that. You want to get out of there for the 2 hours, the hour, as long as the open house takes. After the open house, in today's market, and I'm recording this in March of 2022, you should start getting offers within a day or two, right? If you're not, it always means the same thing, and this is going to surprise you. It means your price too high. So if you're not getting offers within a few days, you want to, certainly within a few weeks, you want to start thinking that your price too high. Now, if you can't lower the price, then you can't lower the price. But if you can, it's always an indication of price. If you're getting showings and no offers, it's always an indication of price. It's not intuitive, right? You would think, well, if I'm asking too much, no one will show up. People will show up to see it, but they are not going to make an offer that's significantly less than your asking price. So after you get those offers, at that point, your realtor and you should discuss which is the best offer, right? Sometimes the best offer is not going to be the highest price. It may be a lower price, but it may be where they're putting more money down. It may be that they have no mortgage contingency. It may be that they have a better financing option. It may be that they are not going to do an inspection. There are all kinds of things, and you have to weigh all these offers and see how they are and make a decision. Now, If you're priced too high, you're going to show this property a lot of times, right? People are going to ask you to show it 1,000,000 times, right? I recently have never had to show a property more than 2 or 3 times, and usually 2 times in a week, and then maybe one more time. But that's because I know how to price properties. I know how to sell properties. I'm talking about my own properties or when I list properties for other people. So you want to weigh these offers and you want to accept the offers. And you're going to accept the offer. The next step usually is that the buyer is going to do an inspection. Usually. They're going to bring an inspector in who's going to say, all these things are great, all these things are not great. And then they may come back to you and say, we want you to repair certain parts. We want you to give us a credit because certain things are worse than we thought. And you can say no. You can say go to hell. You can say yes, or you can negotiate. Shouldn't scare you. Sometimes they're asking for things that they don't even want. Sometimes they're asking for things that are important to them. And a realtor should help you go through that list and say, this is not expensive, agree to this. This is ridiculous. No one should be asking for this. This is expensive. I wouldn't agree to this. And then this is important. You can't have this going on. But a realtor should explain that to you and hold your hand. This is something I do with every single one of my people I'm listing for. I'm going to hold their hand and say, these are things you need to do, right? This is a safety issue. This is a mechanical issue. This is something that's a problem. Or this is BS. Tell them to drop dead. After you finish that negotiation, you're then going to go to contract. So you as a seller have to have an attorney who's going to draw up a contract and send it to the buyer's attorney. Now, I think I'm realizing now this is going to take longer than I thought, so I'm going to go just do the process of selling a house when you have it listed with an agent. I'll do another video on what's the process when you sell it to an investor. So you want to make sure that you use an attorney. This is really important. You want to use an attorney who is familiar with real estate, okay? I understand if your niece, your nephew, your son, your brother is an attorney that you want to save some money because they'll do it for free. Do not use an attorney who is not familiar with how real estate works in New York. So your brother just moved from California, never done a real estate deal in New York. Don't use him, right? An attorney should cost somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, I would say, on average. It's worth the money. Now, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be an issue, but the one time where it gets screwed up, if you're not using a good attorney, I promise you it's going to be worth it. It's almost like paying an insurance premium on your car. You may want to keep the minimum insurance, and if you never get into an accident, you'll be saving a lot of money. But if you get into a real accident, you don't have insurance, it's going to be a problem. Same thing with health insurance, any kind of insurance, homeowners insurance. So you want to use a good attorney. Your attorney should know how to send out a contract. Your attorney is going to negotiate with the other side, probably over stupidity, and then you're going to get into contract. The contract's going to have an on or about date for closing. It's also going to have a commitment date. So the buyer is going to be required to show you a commitment by a certain date. If they don't, then you have an option of canceling the contract, or you have an option of extending it, right? That happens relatively often, as crazy as it sounds. The mortgage industry is a little screwed up. There are a lot of mortgage people out there that don't do things when they should, and sometimes you just need a week, and you may decide to do it, or you may say, you know what, I already had another offer that was higher, I'm going to drop this guy. Most of the time, a short extension is given. After he shows the commitment, then you are going to, commitment does not mean he's clear to close. He's going to get himself clear to close. Now, an important thing to do when you go into contract is make sure that the guy orders an appraisal. Or if he's getting financing, he needs an appraisal. If 2-3 weeks go by where no appraisal calls anybody and tells you they're coming over, that's something to be concerned about. Now, there are stupid mortgage companies, and I can say this because I was in the mortgage business for 17 years. I never did this. Stupid mortgage people who will say, well, I'm not ordering an appraisal until I think this guy is definitely going to be clear to close. That's idiotic, okay? Because you want to do the appraisal as soon as possible because the deal has to go through. Now, in general, this process is going to take between 2 to 3 months to get a mortgage. Now, once he does the appraisal, he gets his mortgage, he's clear to close. At that point, you're going to schedule the closing. So his attorney is going to inform your attorney that the buyer is clear to close, and then you are going to come up with a closing date. Now, obviously, if you're living in the property, you have to be ready to move. And if you have tenants in there, you got to make sure they're out. And you got to ask your attorney what obligations you have. Most standard contracts have an obligation to you to make the property broom clean. That means all the furniture out and the place is pretty clean. But understand that on a standard transaction, most buyers have a mortgage contingency. That is, and I've said this before, in essence, a get out of contract free card. It's very easy for any mortgage professional to deny somebody for a mortgage. Documents expire all the time. Now, I'm not saying you should be overly concerned because 9 out of 10 buyers, maybe even more, want to buy the property and are going to close when they can. But understand that if you have a mortgage contingency, and I sell properties with mortgage contingencies all the time, they can come back to you after several months, which is a really annoying thing, and say, sorry, we got denied. So understand that is a remote possibility. It usually doesn't happen, but it could. After you get to closing, closing happens, you're going to get the proceeds of the sale minus any liens you have and minus closing costs. So closing costs on a sale are going to be, the biggest part is going to be your commission to your realtor. You're going to have transfer tax, you're going to have attorney fees, and you're also going to have some title fees. Those are the things you're going to have to pay. So you're not selling your house for $500,000, you're never getting $500,000. If you have a mortgage you have to pay off, if you have any liens on the property, in addition to the mortgage, you have to pay those off, and then you pay them off and you get paid. So that is pretty much how it works. That is the process to sell a house when it's listed with a realtor. So thank you very, very much for watching.